Hello crafty friends, welcome back. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make a custom background using distress oxide, some stamping and heat embossing. I will create 3 cards from this background. Before we get stuck in, I would just like to give a big shout out to Candice Moritz for supporting my channel. Thanks so much, really appreciate it. If you would like to support my channel, you can do so on my Ko-fi page. I will leave the link in the description below. Now let's get crafting. I'm starting my project with tumbled glass distress oxide. I do prefer to always start with the lightest color first. I'm using the smishing technique. If you've watched most of my videos, you would know that I just love this technique as I feel it gives you control of how much or little ink you would like to add. I'm using 300 GSM white cardstock, which you can purchase from Spotlight here in New Zealand. This cardstock is not mixed media, but I feel it handles this technique very well. The next color I will be using is cracked pistachio. Another thing I love about this technique is that you can do it over and over and your background will look different every single time. I've recently added cracked pistachio to my collection and I have to be honest, this might be my new favorite color. With this technique there is no right or wrong. You have the control and you can decide how much ink you want to add. It's important to remember that you need to dry your layers in between colors. Distress oxides are water reactive and if your layers are not dry, the ink will mix. When using my heat gun, the cardstock will sometimes warp a bit, so by heating it from the bottom, it straightens it out. For my third color, I'm using peacock feathers. This is another new color I added to my collection, and I can see I will be using this color in many future projects. So just to recap, the 3 colors I've used so far is tumbled glass, cracked pistachio and peacock feathers. I think these 3 colors go very well together. I apologize for my camera that keeps on trying to focus. I think I may have had my camera a bit too close to my working space. Again, I'm just drying the oxide before moving to the next step. If you don't have a heat gun, you could also use a hairdryer. I've decided to add some splatter to my background and I'm using chipped sapphire. I did manage to get splatter on more than just my background. I will need to think of an idea on how to do a splatter without making a mess. Let me know in the comments below, what do you use when doing the splatter technique? For the next step, I've chosen the script stamp from Temu. I'm going to heat emboss using Versamark watermark stamp pad and Wow Gold embossing powder. All the items used in today's video will be linked in the description below. I always preheat my heat gun for a few seconds before using it. This just speeds up the embossing process. I would normally use my oven dish for the heat embossing, but it was too small for this project. I had a question in a previous video about why I use my oven dish, and the reason for that is to protect my work surface. I want to create 3 cards from this background, so essentially 3 different looks. So for the next step, I'm using the same script stamp, but this time with chipped sapphire distress oxide, the same color I used for the splatter. For my first card, I will be using this cover plate die, also purchased from Temu. I did not want to make this video too long, so I decided to do all my die cutting off camera to save some time. If you've never used the die cut machine before, you can watch my video on how to master die cutting with a Big Shot die cutting machine. You can click on the link on the screen and I will also add it to the description below. I'm cutting the same panel from white cardstock as I want to use white squares with the pattern squares I created. If you've got this far in my video, I firstly want to thank you for sticking around and secondly want to get your opinion on should or shouldn't I make use of music during parts I do not speak. Not sure if you've noticed, but I have not used any music in the video this far, and I would just love to hear your feedback. Now we start with the exciting part of putting the cards together. In order for me to put the squares on the card in a straight line, I'm using the outline of the die as a guide. I'm using low-tack painter's tape to keep it stuck down. There might be an easier way to do this, but this is what works for me. I'm using art glitter glue to stick down my squares. This is a quick drying glue and it dries clear. If you are getting value from this video, please give me a thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel. I also want to take this opportunity to thank each and everyone for subscribing, liking, and commenting on my videos. Being a new creator can be a bit overwhelming, but you've all made it so worth it. Your support means the world to me. Now I'm just continuing to add the little squeeze onto the card. Once done, I will remove the die cut layer that held everything into place. I want to add some more detail to my card, and I'm going to color a piece of cardstock with chipped sapphire and cut a few heart shapes from it. I've placed the hearts at the top and the bottom to make space in the center for a sentiment. I've stamped and cut the Hello Friend sentiment off camera, again just to save some time. I've added some foam tape for a bit of dimension and also some liquid glaze to make the hearts nice and shiny. One thing I did forget to do is to cut the card on the right hand side as it was uneven. I did fix this and you will see this in the final result at the end. For my next card, I will be using the strip on the background that I did the gold embossing on. I'll be using these two hard dies. I'm also going to emboss the card panel with the script embossing folder, as this ties in well with the script heat embossing on the hearts. The hard dies are from Temu. I've recently done a Temu craft haul, which this heart set was part of. If you'd like to watch this, you can click on the video on screen, and I will also leave the link in the description below. I have now cut and embossed all the pieces off camera, including the Love You sentiment. I'm going to create a matting layer for this card in peacock feathers, as I think this color ties in well with the rest of the card. I had a question in a previous video as to why I use the Stress Oxide for the matting layer, and the truth is I don't have any other inks at the moment. I just love the Stress Oxide. They are so versatile, and like in this example, I can use one of the same colors I used in the background we created to get the perfect color match. I will be using Ranger's Multimedia Matte Glue to put this card together. This is a strong, slow drying glue, so it just gives you that extra bit of time to adjust your project. You can buy this in a little pot, and I've dispensed this glue into this little bottle, which I purchased from Temu. I got this idea from the very talented Natasha Foot. She has a very simple and easy way how to fill these bottles, and I will leave a link to her channel and to the video in the description below. I'm adding some foam tape to the big heart to give it some depth. The smaller white heart and sentiment I'm just laying flat on the card, and that's our second card done. For the third and final card, I'm going with a butterfly theme, using butterfly die cuts and butterfly embossing folder. I've used a strip of the background that I created that had no stamp or scripture on it. I wanted to create a matting layer for this card, but decided against it as I quite like the white on white. I only used a few of the butterflies to give it a more clean look and placed it on the left to create a flow. I recently celebrated my birthday, so I decided to make this a birthday card. The sentiment is stamped with chipped sapphire distress oxide. I also put some foam tape on the sentiment. I was not sure where to place the sentiment, but think the bottom turned out to look the best. And that's our third and final card done. I thought I'd show you what was left of the background after creating 3 cards. As you can see, there's still a large piece left with a gold embossing and blue stamp. I think you could probably make another 3 cards, so these definitely won't go to waste. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below which card was your favorite, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.